What if the universe is not as silent as we have always assumed? What if, somewhere in the darkness between stars and galaxies, something is sending out a signal that returns again and again from the exact same region of space, almost as if it is waiting to be noticed, not once, not as a random accident, but repeatedly from the same place, with a pattern that is so unusual it forces scientists, researchers, and even skeptics to ask a question they are often reluctant to say out loud. Are we looking at an extreme natural event we barely understand? Or are we staring at a signal that behaves just a little too strangely to ignore? For years, deep space has surprised us with brief radio flashes, unexplained emissions, and cosmic events so powerful that they can cross unimaginable distances before touching Earth for only an instant. Most of these signals vanish as suddenly as they appear. They are violent, brief, and unpredictable. But every now and then, a source does something far more unsettling. It repeats. It comes back. It reappears from the same part of the sky, raising a possibility that is far more difficult to dismiss than a single unexplained burst, because repetition changes everything. Repetition suggests structure. Repetition suggests a mechanism, and in the minds of many people, repetition raises the question of intention. Before we go any further, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and support the project if you enjoy serious mysteries, conspiracies, and strange phenomena that challenge what we think we know about reality. And I want you to comment below before the end of this video. Do you believe a repeating radio signal from the same region of space is most likely a natural cosmic process? Or do you think there is a real chance it could be something artificial, something deliberately transmitting across the void? Stay with me, because the deeper we go into this mystery, the harder it becomes to treat it as just another anomaly. To understand why this kind of signal generates so much fascination, we need to begin with a simple truth. Space is not quiet. It is full of noise. Pulsars rotate and emit pulses. Stars flare. Black holes feed. Magnetic fields twist through plasma. Galaxies collide. Matter accelerates in extreme environments and throws energy across the universe in forms we detect only as faint whispers in our instruments. Radio astronomy has shown us that the cosmos is alive with signals, but most of them, even the strange ones, eventually fall into known categories. The real mystery begins when a signal refuses to fit neatly into those categories. One of the most important developments in modern astronomy has been the study of mysterious radio bursts coming from deep space. Some of them are incredibly brief and incredibly powerful, releasing in milliseconds the kind of energy that can rival what entire stars produce over much longer periods. These events have become one of the most discussed mysteries in astrophysics because they are both real and difficult to explain completely. But among them, one subgroup stands apart from the rest: the repeaters. These are the sources that do not stay silent forever. They return from the same area of space, sometimes in clusters, sometimes according to an apparent cycle, and sometimes with a rhythm that feels uncomfortably close to design. That is where the theory at the center of this video begins. If a radio signal appears again and again from the same spot in space, and if its activity seems to follow a recurring pattern over long stretches of observation, then what exactly are we looking at? Is this simply an exotic natural engine, one far beyond ordinary human intuition? Or is the fixed location and repeated timing the very clue that should make us question whether nature is the only explanation? Because when something random repeats in a disciplined way, people start to wonder whether random is the wrong word. Supporters of the natural explanation usually begin with one of the strongest candidates in the discussion: magnetars. These are neutron stars with magnetic fields so extreme that they represent some of the most violent environments in the known universe. A magnetar can produce bursts of energy powerful enough to explain certain kinds of intense radio emissions. In many ways, this is a serious and compelling explanation. It does not rely on fantasy. It does not require alien civilizations or hidden messages. It simply says that the universe is capable of producing phenomena so extreme that they can look almost impossible from a human perspective. And history has taught us to be careful before declaring something artificial simply because it feels strange. But even that explanation does not erase the deeper discomfort. A magnetar may explain power, but does it fully explain repetition with an apparent schedule? Does it explain why activity might cluster in windows, then disappear, then return from the same location as if following a hidden clock? Some researchers have proposed that the signal source may exist inside a binary system, where one object orbits another, and the surrounding environment periodically changes what can escape toward Earth. In that kind of scenario, the signal might not be switching on and off by intention, but by geometry. The source could always be active, while the path to us opens only at certain times, like a lighthouse, visible only when atmospheric conditions align. This is one of the most fascinating possibilities, because it shows how a natural system can mimic purpose: a dense stellar remnant, a companion star, a powerful magnetic environment, an orbit that creates regular windows of visibility. Suddenly, a repeating signal no longer looks like a coded message. It looks like astrophysics performing a trick on human intuition. And yet, even when explanations like this are offered, the mystery does not disappear. It only changes shape. Because now the question becomes even more interesting. If the repetition is caused by orbital mechanics or environmental cycles, what kind of object must exist there to produce such an intense, focused, and recurring radio event in the first place? That is why the fixed location matters so much. A one-time burst can be dismissed as an event. A repeating burst from the same region becomes a source. And a source is something we can study, revisit, compare, and track through time. The moment astronomers realize that a signal is returning from the same coordinates, the mystery becomes more serious. It becomes less like catching lightning and more like discovering a machine whose workings we do not yet understand. The longer it repeats, the more the human mind starts assigning meaning to the pattern, because repetition is one of the fundamental signals of order. This is also where the more controversial interpretations begin. Some theorists argue that any repeating radio signal from a fixed location deserves at least limited consideration as a possible artificial beacon, not because there is proof of intelligence behind it, but because a beacon by definition is something designed to repeat, to remain in place, and to be detectable over time. In this view, what seems like a natural astrophysical mystery could, in the most extreme scenario, be a transmission system, a byproduct of advanced technology, or even the leakage of some distant energetic process created by intelligence. It sounds extraordinary, and it is, but extraordinary ideas survive in public imagination, precisely because the phenomenon itself is already so extraordinary. Of course, a serious investigation cannot leap from mystery to aliens without restraint. That would weaken the entire subject. The responsible approach is to admit what we know and what we do not know. We know the universe produces radio emissions. We know some sources repeat. We know a fixed region of space can generate signals over time. We know pattern-like behavior can emerge from natural systems involving rotation, magnetic stress, orbital motion, and extreme plasma environments. But we also know that whenever a signal keeps returning, the idea of intention becomes difficult for the human mind to ignore. We are pattern-seeking creatures, and the sky has a way of turning that instinct into obsession. Another reason this mystery feels so powerful is that radio signals are different from light in the popular imagination. Light can be chaotic. Explosions shine, stars glow, but radio carries an almost technological aura. It feels closer to communication. It feels like engineering, even when it is not. That psychological factor matters more than many people realize. The moment the public hears the phrase, repeating radio signal from the same spot in space, the mind does not picture a plasma cloud or a rotating neutron star. It pictures a transmission. It pictures contact. It pictures the possibility that the universe is not merely active, but aware. That emotional leap is exactly why such stories become so powerful. There is also a deeper and more unsettling possibility. What if the signal is natural, but natural in a way that forces us to rethink how organized the universe can appear? That would mean the most shocking answer is not that the source is artificial, but that nature itself can create events that look almost deliberate. A periodic source hidden in a violent astrophysical system, a repeating burst shaped by invisible orbital timing, a cosmic engine that turns on and off in a cycle so clean that human beings mistake it for design. In some ways, that answer would be just as profound as an artificial one, because it would remind us that the universe is capable of forms of order more complex than our intuition can easily accept. Still, there are reasons the theory of a deeper mystery survives. Some recurring sources do not behave in perfectly simple ways. Their activity windows can vary. Their intensity can shift. Their bursts can cluster in manners that are not always easy to predict from a single model. Every time the data resists a clean explanation, the door opens again to broader speculation. Is there more than one mechanism involved? Are we dealing with environments so extreme that our current models are only partial? Or is the irregularity itself part of the message, the signature of something we are not yet equipped to classify? This is the point where scientific uncertainty and public imagination begin to overlap, and that overlap is where some of the strongest mysteries in modern space science are born. Because the public often thinks science removes mystery, when in fact science sometimes sharpens it. The better our instruments become, the more precisely we detect patterns that refuse to fit our expectations. A recurring signal from the same region of space is not frightening because it proves something impossible. It is frightening because it proves that something real is happening, and we are still arguing about what kind of reality it belongs to. Natural, artificial, transitional, known, unknown. The categories themselves start to feel unstable. There is also the question of scale. Whatever is producing such a signal is not nearby in ordinary human terms. It may be unimaginably far away, separated from us by distances so great that even the word distance begins to lose meaning. And yet, across that vast emptiness, something happens often enough and consistently enough that our instruments can notice it returning. That thought alone is enough to unsettle almost anyone who takes it seriously. Somewhere out there, something repeats, something endures, something in the darkness has rhythm. Whether that rhythm comes from a star, a collapsed remnant, a gravitational dance, far stranger, it reminds us that the universe is not passive. It is active in ways we are still learning to interpret. This is why the mystery of the repeating signal matters so much. Not because it has already answered the biggest question, but because it forces the question to remain alive. If the source is natural, then it may reveal new physics, new stellar behavior, or new relationships between magnetic fields, matter, and orbital structure. If the source is artificial, then it would be one of the most important discoveries in human history. And if it belongs to some category we have not yet defined, then the real lesson may be that our vocabulary for the cosmos is still too small for what the cosmos is actually doing. In the end, the radio signal that appears in the same spot in space again and again may be many things, but it is not ordinary. It is a reminder that deep space does not simply contain mysteries, it generates them. The recurrence is what makes this case feel so different. A random burst invites curiosity, a repeating source invites theory, and a repeating source from a fixed location, returning often enough to leave a pattern in our observations, invites something even more powerful than theory. It invites the possibility that meaning is hidden inside repetition, waiting for us to understand why it keeps coming back. So the real question is no longer whether the signal exists. The real question is why it repeats. Is it the pulse of a magnetar trapped in an extreme cosmic environment? Is it the visible phase of a binary system whose orbit creates predictable openings in time? Is it an astrophysical process so rare that we have only begun to recognize it? Or is it, however unlikely, a beacon from something that wanted to be noticed without ever speaking plainly? Until that question is answered, the signal will remain one of the most haunting whispers ever detected from the dark. Now I want to hear your theory. Do you believe this repeating radio signal is most likely the product of a rare natural cosmic engine? Or do you think the fact that it returns from the same region of space again and again opens the door to something far more extraordinary? Leave your opinion in the comments, because this is exactly the kind of mystery that divides people between science, speculation, and wonder. And if you enjoy serious content about mysteries, conspiracies, strange signals, and the secrets hidden in the universe, like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to support the project, because sometimes the most unsettling message is not one we can decode, but one that keeps returning until the world is finally ready to listen.